Hello guys, welcome back again to the channel, and Joffrey Noodle Legs here. Hang on one second guys. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, welcome back to the channel. Another noodle film review. Today we're looking at Critters 2, the second movie in the Critters franchise. Now, if you've seen the first one, you've got a little bit of a gist what it's about. It's about these creatures, almost sort of gremlin-like creatures that come down, that have escaped a prison in space, and they're just sort of killing and rampaging. And then we've got two bounty hunters that have come down to sort of like hunt them out. But they obviously they failed to do that in the first movie, and there's some eggs in this second one. Now, the film kind of starts off. We start off in space with our bounty hunters, and we got the guys with them. The guy that was, do you remember the local nutcase from the first one? He stayed with them and joined them in this space and become a bounty hunter with them. So we see them. They're in this planet, and they're obviously chasing another bounty, and they kill this other sort of alien creature and take it to their ship and carry on. And then they get like a sort of call from their sort of boss, which looks really strange, like a weird shaped potato sort of guy. And he's saying that there's still critters left on Earth. They haven't got them all, and they need to go back to Earth. So that's their plan, and they're sort of like on their way back to Earth. So they would then go to planet Earth. There we are on the bus, and on the bus is the young lad from the first film, and he's grown up he's a few years older in this film. I can't remember what year this was, the second one. I really can't remember, but I would probably say late-ish 80s to maybe even 90. Don't know, but he's on the bus and he's talking to the bus driver, and the bus driver is talking to him about, and he asks him, "What are you coming here to see?" Oh, he's coming to see his nan, his granny, um, Granny Brown, and he goes, "Oh, you're nothing to do with the Brown family that had anything to do with those alien things that are sort of like tormented the town." He goes, "No, no, no, nothing to do with them." So the legend has already built the story around the town of like the young boy Bradley Brown, I think his name is Bradley, who sort of saved the town from these creatures. So there's already a legendary story there going on. So he's on his way to town. We then join like in back in space where our bounty hunters are, and the other guy is quite worried about returning to Earth because he says, "I've been away quite a long time now. You're not going to just leave me there, are you?" And they said, "No, you're a bounty hunter now, so you're one of us." So he's happy with that. Back on the planet, we join the local sort of newspaper. This guy, this young girl, and an older woman. The older woman, I believe, used to work at the police station because she looks like the woman in the first one. So they're all talking about stories in the paper, and she looks out the window and she sees the bus pull up, and she sees that the young lad has got off. So she thinks Bradley Brown's back in town, and the guy who runs the paper is not very keen on sort of like, well, not don't want to follow that up because a lot of people were sort of like, didn't like the story sort of thing. So they said, "Oh, well, no, no, of course not." But the young girl's quite excited that he's in town as well because she could feel the scoop too because she obviously wants to be a young journalist. So the young lad has arrived into town and he heads off towards his granny's house, which is like a daycare centre where there's loads of children there. She looks after children. Um, And she seems quite nice, and all these kids, she's teaching them not to eat too much things like red meat because it's bad for you and all this sort of thing. And she seems quite nice. Meanwhile, we've got um these two guys. We've got this sort of like young sort of guy, the sort of like, I suppose, the delinquent of the town, and this guy that runs like a junk shop, and they're going off on this jeep to the old barn. Now the old barn, I believe, was in the old house where the old house was. And the young lad's taken in the old boy there because there's loads of eggs there, and he wants to sell him the eggs. Right, so he goes, well, so the old boy eventually agrees to buy the eggs from him. As they look at them in the barn, they look a bit different to normal eggs. They're sort of greeny blue colorations and stuff. And he agrees to sell them to him for a couple of crates of beer and some porn mags, whatever. So they load up the eggs onto the Jeep and they take them to the guy's junk shop. So while this is going on, the young girl from the newspaper is at the local sort of fast food sort of diner, and that guy that the young guy the delinquent guy that took the eggs for the guy is in there trying to chat up the girl, and she's not really interested, and he's coming on quite forceful. And Bradley, the young boy, comes up, says leave her alone because he's in there as well. So he turns around and they sort of know each other. Goes, oh, so you're Bradley Brown and you're back, are you? And they start having a little fight, sort of thing, in the diner, which goes onto the street. Anyway, so he gets sort of chucked into the street, the young lad, and the girl, the young girl, the reporter girl's got her car, picks him up, and they zoom off. And he says, "Thanks very much for saving me." And they start talking, and he remembers that she used to go to school with him, and that she's grown up, so they're old school friends, and some sort of love interest is going on there. So that's all happening. Meanwhile, the old lady, the nan that runs the daycare centre, has gone to the junkyard to see the guy there because he says he's got loads of Easter eggs for her, because this is based around Easter time and the town are sort of like preparing for an Easter celebration. And so he goes there and she sees all the eggs and she buys quite a load of them. There's loads of them, and she buys quite a few of them for $20 and takes them off in the car. And the young girl that's there helping her, she gives her one for free for helping. And then the rest of the eggs are left there in this sort of junkyard barn shop. But he's left these eggs by the heater. So it's obviously given them the right environment to hatch, because they hatch. We don't see them hatch, but they've hatched. And we know this because the guy comes back to his junk shop, and he comes back from wherever he's been, and he's like, sees all the dog food's gone. Thought, well, you really ate that. And he sees the dog laying down, and he goes over to the dog, and then all the little critters appear. They're only tiny at this stage, the little ones, and then they start chasing, attacking the guy and biting into him. And some sort of bloody gory shots going on. So they start attacking this guy. So he climbs on the chair, trying to go up high, but they climb up the chair, and eventually he falls off, and they all attack him. So he succumbs to his end. He gets killed by these critters. So they're back. What's going to happen? You need to watch it and find out. What do I think of Critters 2? It's amazing. It's just as good as the first one. And I like that they've got some of the same sort of characters in it. They've got the sheriff in it as well, but it's a different guy playing the sheriff. But it's the same, he's playing the same character. We've got the same woman there that was from the sheriff's office. Obviously, we've got the bounty hunters. And we got the young lad that was in the original, so it's quite cool to sort of that they've continued on with the same sort of characters. Really, really cool. So the pluses of the film, that it looks great. It looks a lot more cleaner picture than the first one. It's still really cool. It's a really cool story. It's still quite gory at times, and it's the creatures are quite they're a lot more scarier than Gremlins, and they're awesome. I do love critters. I really want one. I really want a critter. I will pick one up one day. Anyway, they've got and they look amazing. The characters are really cool and likable. There's a little bit of like a love story going on in this one because the lad's grown up now and a teenager. And the story sort of builds up. So what's going to happen to the town now? Because there's a lot more critters there than before. and are the bounty hunters going to come there and help them? So it's an amazing little story. Negatives to the film, again, the first half an hour is very character building, like the first film. It's quite slow, but these films were back in that day. These sort of creature films, they didn't want to reveal the creature too soon. You know, not like a lot of movies like The Deadly Spawn and stuff, where they revealed the monster pretty much instantly. But here they don't. You know, it's more of a build up because people want to see the critters. I remember seeing this in the cinema, and we're all sitting there waiting for the critters. And when they appeared the first time around that the dead dog in that guy's junk shop, we all cheered when we saw them for the first time. It's like, yeah, it's critters. So it's cool, and it's great to see this again because I've not seen it. I saw this one and the third one in the cinema. I didn't see the first one. I bought that on VHS when it came out. So I'm going to review Critters 2 now, and I'm going to give it an awesome watch, and I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I'm going to give it 1 point more than the original. The original is really cool and it's a fantastic film, but that's like a build up to the story. The story really sort of takes off in this one more, and I like it more, and it's more sort of critters and stuff in there, and really, really cool. Great movie. 9 out of 10, Critters 2. Any of you guys seen it? If you have, let me know down below what you thought of it. I love the franchise. Like I told you in the last video, I think it's a really underrated 80s horror monster flick franchise. It gets sort of like, I don't know, sort of pushed aside really, which is a shame because they are little creatures, furry creatures. People don't take it as serious and stuff, but it's a really cool franchise of movies, and they're great characters, and they're filmed really well. These are not low budget films. These are your sort of middle to high end budget sort of horror films. You know, the companies have put money into these, so it's, you can tell by the way it's shot, the music and the characters, and you can just tell this is a much bigger budget film than a lot of sort of horrors that were coming out at the time, and it shows that, and it's amazing. Excellent film. So the next one I'll look at will be Critters 3, and that will be the last one of the week. Yes, there is Critters 4 in this box set, and I will review that later on down the line, and I will probably pick up the reboot film at some point and review that. But until next time, next week I believe I'm going to be Killer Croc week, so keep your eyes open that if you want to see some Killer Crocs. So watch out for that next week. Until then, check out some horror channels for me. Check out Horror Hands, Horror Geek, The Man v Film, RS Designs, Pizzawell, I Am the Ice Lord. Sarah watches horror, Grumpy Andrew's Haunted House, and of course Cat watches horror movies. And a shout out to the amazing Lemon Lord, my lad. Till next time, you look after yourselves, you look after one another, and I really hope I see you all soon.